Somebody asked me to show them how I make pivot screw reamers. Here's a drawing of the pivot screw itself and the countersink in the end of the key that the pivot has to run in. It's not likely doing this by hand in the usual woodwind shop that you're going to get a real exact match. It's going to kind of just touch in one area. You'd have to have computerized machinery and maybe an optical comparator in order to do better than this. An optical comparator would project a shadow of a very large shadow of the pivot screw and a shadow of the reamer that you're trying to make onto a wall, and you can superimpose them, bring the two images together, and that'd be a very large image, and you can see where the discrepancies are very clearly with an optical comparator. But even with that, you might have to have computerized machinery to do any better than just putting a straight taper. You can try to put a little curve on there and match, a buffet pivot screw or whatever. You're not going to get it exactly though. I've shown you my little jeweler's lathe before. I've got a Sherline headstock on this very old jeweler's lathe. And I have a file rest on here that came with the lathe. That's got these hardened steel rollers that will control how deep the file goes. So I have this neat way of bringing this. Well, first of all, I filed and sanded smooth a piece of 110 thousandths drill rod, and polished it very smoothly with a file and varying degrees of sandpaper. And then I've already started to file it with a fairly coarse file, and I'll show you that now. I don't have an indexer on this headstock to control to stop it, but I'm using this wrench, this little bar that came with this in one of the holes on the chuck, and I'm letting that hit against the back of the side of the bed, and I'm holding it there. That way the chuck can't move on me. And then I'm using a rather coarse file. I'm in a wheelchair, so I can't really get up over this like I would like to. I'm kind of at the wrong angle here. And then the rollers, once you're down to the depth of the rollers, they'll start rolling. They're hardened steel, so they don't get goobered up too badly. That's almost to center. This has a little adjustment on it, so I can lower the rest a little bit. I'm going to go to a little bit smoother file now and try to get a nice finish on this just as I file down to the point of this, because you want to file to the halfway mark. I'm using a little more pressure on the forward stroke than on the return stroke. And I'm just about to the center now. Not quite. Lower it just a little bit more. You want to file exactly as you can, half the diameter away. You might be able to see that those rollers are rolling now. I think that's just about to center. I'm going to go just a tad more. I'm going to call that good. I'll see if I can get in close on that. Bring the camera up here. And you can see how nicely done that is. And next time, next video, I will show you how I harden it and temper it.